So thank you, Brian, for that kind introduction. And I want to say good morning to everyone, and thank you to Lineage, Joanna, and the Reeve Foundation, and everyone that put this meeting together. It's wonderful to be here. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine, or CIRM. As we mentioned, I'm Lila Collins, and I have a passion for therapeutic development and translation. And since you met me last year, I've transitioned to a role on our portfolio and development and review team, but I'm still a CIRMer for life. It's a fantastic place, and I hope to warm up the crowd and pique your interest in us. So I'll start with our mission. We're a patient-centered, indication-agnostic cell and gene therapy funding agency and research partner. Our mission here is accelerating world-class science to deliver transformative regenerative medicines and treatments in an equitable manner to a diverse California and world. And before I dive into the rest of the presentation, I'd like to just mention that patients are the center of everything we do at CIRM, from the patient advocates on our board to the patient advocates on our grants working group and those that serve on our advisory panels for our translational awards, our clinical awards, and our late-stage clinical awards. The patient voice is critical to CIRM. So how we came to be, Prop 71 was passed by the California voters in 2004 that allocated $3 billion of bond funding to support stem cell research in the state. You'll recall at the time there were some federal constraints on embryonic stem cell research. And California voters decided we want to enable that work to continue unfettered in the state. And we since have been renewed in 2020 by the passage of Proposition 14, and that provided an additional $5.5 billion of funding. And with that came some really exciting features. The Prop 14 brought us some new focus, including $1.5 billion set aside to support research in indications of the central nervous system. So hopefully that's interesting to you. The inclusion of gene therapy is now in our mandate. And particularly, we have an emphasis on including all Californians across all life circumstances in our efforts, including workforce development and clinical trial participation. I feel this is still too high, but I'll just tippy-toe. Here's a snapshot of some of our accomplishments. As I mentioned, when we were created, refunded, we have a focus on CNS indications. We funded about 1,400 awards, and we're up to 106 clinical trials that we funded, and we've enrolled about 3,300 patients and counting now. And our CIRM-funded projects have actually raised $24.7 billion in industry support. I thought that you might be interested to learn about our spinal cord injury portfolio. As I noted, CNS is a priority area for us. Our total investment in spinal cord injury is $113 million approximately so far. Since I spoke to you last year, we funded additional $6 million. And shown here is all of our active portfolio. I'll briefly touch upon the discovery grants, and then since today is a bit of a translation-focused day, I'll also talk about those in individual slides. So we have some new discovery awards, one to Dr. Zoldeva at the Gladstone, and she's testing iPSC-derived relay neurons for the ability to integrate within the injured spinal cord and restore motor networks. Dr. Gudis here at BrainXL in San Diego is testing two different subtypes of autologous iPSC-derived relay neurons in subacute and chronically injured spinal cord injury models. And Dr. Heilshorn at Stanford has a slightly different focus. Her work aims to optimize delivery and engraftment of neural grafts in the spinal cord, testing various hydrogel formulations for their ability to support engraftment and function of these pluripotent stem cell-derived neural cells. And she's also working to understand clone-to-clone variability in iPSC-derived neurons and to establish a QC workflow for these therapies. And I'll just briefly touch upon our later stage awards. This is Dr. Cieszynski's award to support development of human embryonic stem cell-derived neural progenitor cells for severe spinal cord injury. This has progressed from a translational stage award to what we call CLIN 1, and I'll explain those awards in a moment. But basically, when you have a CLIN 1 award, that means that you are preparing to enter the clinic. So he's doing things like generating GMP-derived cell product. He's qualifying his release assays. He's conducting his pivotal safety studies. And he's also doing some studies in non-human primates, which is necessary to test the clinical delivery scenario. So we're excited about that one, and some of you may have seen Dr. Cieszynski's publications showing nice recovery in rodent models with these cells, so we're excited to see how that progresses. Dr. Anderson at UCI, I should mention, well, probably saw on the slide that Dr. Cieszynski's right here in San Diego as well. And Dr. Anderson at UCI is taking advantage of our TRAN program to develop a different neural stem cell therapeutic. These are CNS-derived neural stem cells for chronic cervical spinal cord injury. She's prior established the potential of this therapy in a preclinical model, and this award is focused on manufacturing process optimization and delivery optimization. And as we know, there's a huge need in this space, so we're very excited to see this work progress to the pre-IND meeting and into the clinical portfolio. And with the next slide, I'll explain our funding opportunities. So what we have at CIRM is a pipeline of funding opportunities that are intended to support your work all the way from mechanistic studies to addressing bottlenecks, understanding mechanisms of disease, developing biomarkers, to candidate discovery and development. So our discovery awards are intended to nominate a development candidate with disease-modifying activity, a research process, assays for identity, purity, those types of things, maybe some initial sort of biological activity assays that might become potency assays someday. Our translational awards are intended to support process optimization. I'll talk about those a little bit more because I think that's a really neat thing that we have. And our clinical pillar supports the conduct of IND-enabling studies under CLIN 1 to get you to an active IND, and CLIN 2 supports your clinical trials. And we have a new program that I'll touch upon that supports your progression to BLA filing. So here's a little more detail on our discovery pillar. We actually offer multiple discovery stage awards from DISC 0, that's our foundation awards, to understand disease mechanisms, DISC 2, candidate discovery and development candidate nomination. And we also have some exciting new collaborative programs, the first of which we just rolled out. It's called Remind-L. The very first batch of these is currently in review. And this was a call to better understand the mechanisms that underlie neuropsychiatric diseases with the hopes of getting some insights that'll help us to better therapies. And these are large multidisciplinary projects tackling unanswered questions, largely using a combination of animal models and human iPSC-derived organized models, from patients and controls, these types of things, to pave the way to new therapeutic discovery. And we're going to have another smaller multidisciplinary collaborative project rolling out at the end of the year called Remind-X. And this is to test novel models, tools, and technologies to establish proof of concept for neuro indications. So that's coming at the end of the year. And here's some of the detail. And now I want to talk about our translational awards. These are kind of unique to CIRM. So the goal of these is to take you from that development candidate. So you have a cell therapy or gene therapy that's looking promising in an animal model of your indication. And now you want to make a process that you can take forward into the regulated space. So you might want to optimize your process, remove any xenobiotics, scale it up, make sure it still works, maybe test it in a different model, narrow down your clinical population. You could start drafting your clinical protocol, optimize and finalize your route. All those types of things are supported under our TRAN awards. And this program is currently open. We're accepting applications with a deadline early in July, so come see us if that sounds interesting to you. And last, I'll talk about our CLIN pillar. So I touched upon this earlier, but since we met last year, we've expanded our clinical pillar offerings. So we have CLIN 1 here. Let's see, oh, this one doesn't show. It's okay, you guys can see it. So CLIN 1, I mentioned, to get you through your IND-enabling studies, testing your clinical delivery scenario, making sure that, you have accurate and safe delivery and in a model with your final route and devices, doing your pivotal safety studies, qualifying all your assays, getting everything ready to submit that IND, get the active IND, and then what we'd like you to do when you have that award is, please budget an extra 6 months for study startup. And during that 6 months, you have your active IND, you can start your clinical study, and we want you to apply for CLIN 2 during that period so that you can have continuous funding to come support your clinical trial with that CLIN 2 award. And these can support everything from phase 1 to phase 3. And our new program that I alluded to is called CLIN 4. And this is a BLA enabling mechanism that's intended to support conduct of activities agreed upon with the FDA to get you ready for BLA filing that is going to complement the CLIN 2 that you already have for an active award. You finished at least 50% of the milestones. You've had an end of phase 2 meeting or equivalent. You've agreed with FDA, what you need to get ready to file your BLA. CLIN 4 is intended to support that. So one thing that we've incorporated that I'm very happy about since the passage of Proposition 14 is a focus on DEI principles, and we heard about this yesterday. This is especially important in our clinical programs. So we look to see clinical applicants include cultural sensitivity training, commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion on their teams and in the way that they operate, even in the laboratory and in the trial conduct. We like to see active, inclusive community outreach and across all racial, socioeconomic, and geographic circumstances. We want Californians' investment in Proposition 71 and 14 to be available for everyone. And all of our clinical grants receive a specific DEI score, and it has to be a 6 out of 10 in order to get funded. And then we also have a scientific score. So, and what happens with our clinical awardees is you can talk to our therapeutics development team and they'll help you with that. If you're new to it, one of the things I did when I was on the team is put together an informational package and FAQs and all sorts of point people to help people with that, because we understand that this is new to a lot of teams and we want to support you, and we don't want this to be like a thing that, oh gosh, you're new and you're not welcome. Of course you're welcome, and we will help you through. So now I'll touch upon some of our infrastructure resources to facilitate success of our funded programs. We have our clinical advisory panels for our clinical awards, our translational advisory panels for our translation awards, and we're forming the marketing advisory panels for those who are on their way to BLA filing. And these panels are composed of the CIRM-funded team, a patient advocate, a science advisor that's selected sort of bespoke to complement the expertise of each team, and our science officers put these panels together in collaboration with awardees. And then, of course, you know, the CIRM therapeutics team and the program team are all part of those panels, and they sort of convene, hopefully at least once a year for clinical, translational, convene as needed in preparation for your pre-IND package assembly and to prepare you for the meeting. And the purpose of the programs are to identify opportunities to accelerate progress and address the challenges that arise during the conduct of the work. And people seem to really enjoy these. I've sat in quite a number of them, and they're just intended to support the team. This is not a review. This is a how can we help you move forward and bring resources from our stable of advisors to help you succeed. Another resource that we're proud of is our Alpha Stem Cell Clinic Network. These are distributed largely along the coast of the state. I'll try to go from the south of the state since we're in San Diego. So we have a clinic in San Diego, Irvine, UCLA, Cedars, City of Hope. This is a real pop quiz here. And then going further north, Stanford, UCSF, and then serving the Sacramento Valley, we have an Alpha Stem Cell Clinic at UC Davis. And these clinics are all expert at, now they have manufacturing capabilities, so they can do GMP manufacturing. That's a new feature I'll touch upon in a minute. But they're also expert at handling cell and gene therapies, delivery of cell and gene therapies, and the patient care that's necessary after them for things like, you know, say CAR T. You know, they'll have places where patients can stay nearby and you know, help monitor and make sure that everyone is safe and doing well. So that's our Alpha clinics, and we have added to them manufacturing capability. So we currently have 9 of these at all of our Alpha Stem Cell Clinic sites, and these awards support quality-driven facility improvements to de-risk manufacturing of cell and gene therapy products. And they're going to sort of specialize in different areas so that you can come to the network, whatever type of therapeutic you're developing. One of them will be able to help you manufacture. And we also have partnerships with commercial manufacturers via our Industry Alliance program. And if you are at that stage and a CIRM awardee, please come see us and we can help you connect with them. Even if you're not at that stage, we can help you connect with them if you don't have a CIRM award. So, and the last thing that we are launching this year that I'm super excited about is our Community Care Centers of Excellence program. I mentioned that our Alpha Stem Cell clinics are all sort of along the coast and that we want CIRM-funded work to be accessible to all Californians. And the purpose of this program is to extend the reach of those clinics into areas that are underserved, geographically diverse, like let's get away from the coast. Let's, you know, not only serve people like Lila Collins, who lives between Stanford and UCSF, right? You know, we need to reach everybody. So this program is going to build in the capability of community care centers to participate in clinical trials. So they can either become a recruiting site and pair with our Alpha clinics, or they can become a recruiting and delivery site and actually build the capabilities to deliver those therapies that are available through the Alpha clinics, whether in a clinical trial or an approved therapy in the community setting. And they're going to do this by partnering with community-based organizations. The clinics will also offer workforce development to enable the clinics to participate in trials, and also, you know, to build that diverse workforce that we're looking for in the state. And again, this will be a partnership with the Alpha clinics, and I'm just so excited about this, and the program is currently accepting applications. And that's really the last thing I wanted to share with you. And I said I'd keep us on time. So thank you for listening, and I'm always happy to chat and sing the praises of CIRM or provide any information that I can to help you come join the CIRM family. So thank you.